Hello everybody, good evening. It is me again. We are here in my workshop in Weatherford, Texas. This is my CNC shop. This is where we do the CNC work at. We do the design work in here. We cut everything in here. And this is where we have started those creations. So we're done, man. We're done for the next week or so. Maybe not quite another week. We'll see. Anyway, we're done. We have a craft show coming up this weekend. Today is Wednesday. It is, I think, the 14th, 15th, 16th. Yeah. Today is the 14th, 14th of May. On the 17th in Decatur, Texas, we are doing the Ader from Decatur Food Truck Festival. It's the 9th annual Food Truck Festival. What happens there is they bring in a bunch of food trucks. Buy tickets, you're able to come there, check out the stuff that they have in the food trucks. The ticket gives you an option to sample whatever the truck's signature dish is, and then whatever truck gets the most tickets wins some kind of a grand prize. I don't know what the grand prize is. They generally have 4,000 to 10,000 people, right, that show up, so there's a lot of foot traffic there. And in order to make it more appealing to people, they have a variety of events. So they have some concerts going on. They'll have 3 or 4 musicians out there that are going to play all the way up till 9 o'clock at night. And they have a lot of non-food vendors. And I am one of the non-food vendors that is going to be there. We're going to be there in the Liberty Woodworks tent, or tents. So we have a 10-foot by 20-foot space. We'll have 2 10-foot by 10-foot American flag tents set up, and this is going to be the first time that we will have used a 10-foot by 20-foot configuration. Up till now, we've been doing everything in a 10 by 10, and so this will be our third or fourth. This will be our third event this year. We have 3 more events scheduled for this year. Possibly 4. I haven't made a decision on Christmas yet. I guess we'll decide that once we get a little bit closer and see what events are going on. So we're in the final phase right now. Today I just finished the last project that we had. I've got one more project going on. I'm building a cutting board for somebody, but it's not anywhere near being done. It won't be done until this weekend. The customer actually bought 2 of them from me. So we're building 2 of those for him. But again, they won't be done until later on this weekend. But for the craft show, we finished the last project today. We got everything done, just finished it 15-20 minutes ago. And so now we're in the stage where we're going to be getting ready and where we're going to be setting everything up. Now, in the last video that I put out, I got some comments where one of the guys commented. He said that he was wanting to do craft shows. He didn't realize that there was this much that went into it. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit, right? I did definitely want to talk about that. So craft shows, doing craft shows regularly is another business model, right? It's another form of getting out there and making money, right? The whole reason that you go out there and you do a craft show is to make money. And there is a lot that goes into it. The first thing that goes into it, obviously, is finding the craft show that you're wanting to partner with, that you're wanting to work with. Not all craft shows are the same. The thing is that if you don't know anything about the craft show that you're going to, and you just jump right into it, if you sell something, you're lucky. You know, it's a crapshoot. You really kind of have to research the craft show that you're going to be going to and find out what kind of stuff that works with, right? So they have these markets out there that are kind of like more of a farmer's market type thing, where it's kind of like a flea market. You go there and you buy some used stuff here and there. They got a bunch of farmers there with food, eggs and breads and jams and jellies and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of the craft vendors have real low priced. I'm not trying to be any kind of insulting, by any means, but let's just say they're more of a crafty type thing instead of, and I don't even know how to explain it. You know what I'm talking about, right? They're low-priced items. They're low-priced items that you put together buying stuff at the dollar store or at Hobby Lobby and Michael's, stuff like that. T-shirts, things like that. But as far as getting into any kind of a real high-quality, high-end market, that you don't do so well at them, right? You just don't do so well. So you want to look at what the market is geared towards. What type of customers is planning on being there, and the best thing that you can do if you're planning on going into a farmer's market is to visit it, right? To visit it, check it out, see what it's about. See how much foot traffic's there. Spend a couple hours there. Looking around, talk to the vendors. Try to find out how they're doing. Look at the products that they're selling, see if there's anything that, if you think your stuff might fit in there. So that's the first stage, finding the market that you want to work with. And once you've found a market that you want to work with, that you think you can build a business around, then you're going to have to get in with them. So, and this is where things get a little complicated, right? When you're doing a craft market, or you're doing any kind of a venue where you're actually trying to sell your product, then the whole game changes, right? We're not putting stuff up on Facebook and hoping somebody grabs a hold of it. We're not sticking things in an Etsy store, paying for ads and hoping that it hits the right market and that somebody wants to buy it. You've got to get up there and you've got to talk to those customers. You become a salesman, right? And so when you look at your craft booth, you look at your craft market, you have to take that in mind when you go there and set up. So what you want to do first off is go visit a couple markets and see how people are set up. Be critical, not to them, but be critical as you look at their stuff, right? When you walk through the craft market, what catches your eye? What draws you in? What makes you want to go into a vendor's booth, right, and look at the products that they have? Are you going there and you're just wandering around, just kind of glancing at everything that goes in there? You stop in and you look at every booth that's in there, regardless of whether or do you walk through a craft show and just look to see what booth catches your eye, right? When you find that booth that catches your eye, when you find that booth, when you look at it and you're like, man, I really want to go in there and I want to see what these guys have. Now you need to analyze that booth. You need to analyze, why did it draw me in? What about that booth made me want to come in here and look at their product, right? What about their setup that stands out? So when you are setting up at a craft booth, that's the first thing that you want to do, is you want to create a booth environment that is going to draw a customer in. If not, they're just going to walk right on by you, right? They're going to walk right on by you. They're going to go to the next booth. They're going to go to somebody that does stand out, and you're going to be standing there twiddling your thumbs all day, right? So that's the first thing that goes into it. That's kind of like building your identity, part of building your brand. So when you go there, you want to make sure that you're easily identifiable, that your stuff catches people's eyes. So my company is Liberty Woodworks, right? Liberty Woodworks. It's based off of a couple of ideas, right? The first is a passage in Leviticus that says, proclaim liberty unto all of the people of the land, right? That's a paraphrase. It's a passage in Leviticus. The second is the whole idea of American liberty, right? 1776, the Liberty Bell, right? The Liberty Bell is one of the enduring symbols of liberty in the United States, right? It's about freedom. It's about growth. It's about the ability to follow a dream and make that dream possible. It is about being America, right? It's about being American patriotism. All right, so when we set up our booth, and this doesn't fly at all craft markets, right? So some craft markets, especially the ones that are juried, a lot of those craft markets, they want you to have a white tint, right? Well, I seem to have a problem with the whole cookie cutter thing, right? I don't want to look like the next person. I don't want to present myself the same way the next person presents itself. I want to stand out. So I avoid those kind of events. Maybe they're better, right? Maybe I could make more money if I went and bought white tents and put it up there went to those markets. Maybe I could, I don't know, but it's not my style. It's not what I want to do. So I choose events that don't have restrictions on the type of tents that you have. And my tent is an American flag tent, right? We have 2 American flag tents, and that's what we set up at. So when you look for Liberty Woodworks at a craft show, you look for the American flag tent, right? That's what we tell everybody. You come out there, we're going to be out at this craft show, we'll be in the American flag tent. Look for the American flag, you'll find us, right? Liberty Woodworks, set your brand, right? Make yourself identifiable. Next is when we went out and we set up for this craft show, I had 4 or 5 tables here, plastic fold-up tables. One of them is chewed up because I use it as a work table at my other shop. It's chewed up, it's beat up, it's got gouges in it, it's got residue, it's got stain, it's got years of neglect and abuse. It's about 15 different colors, right? It's ugly, ugly table. And I've got one sitting out front right in here where I bring up here to do all my finishing work, sanding and all that up there, and it's got stain on it, it's got paint residue on it, what I'm saying? They're ugly tables. So when we set up for the craft show, we bought brand new tables, right? And we set up all the tables are identical. They're same size, same brand, same type. They're all identical tables. That way, when people come into my tent, they don't see a short table and a big table, a tall table. They don't see a long table and a short table. They don't see a square table and a rectangle table. Everything is uniform all the way around. And we chose to use black and gold tablecloths. So we have black tablecloths with gold trim. I just personally think that black really goes good with the wood. It sets it off really nice. And I think I like the way it looks. Somewhere down the road, maybe we might change that. I'm not married to it, but that's what we have. And we have black tablecloths for each one of the tables. So now the next thing that you have to get into when you start to identify your brand are banners. People want to know about you in order to come in and have that connection, right? Because if they're going to buy from you, there's two types of customers that you're going to run into. The first customer is an impulse buyer, right? They're going to come in, they're going to see something they like, they're going to buy it, they're not going to ask any questions, they're going to move on down the road. The second type of customer is an immersive buyer, right? They're the type of customer that's going to come in, they want to know about you. They want to know about your business. They want to know your process. They want to ask you questions. They want to get information before they make a decision on whether or not they want to support your business and buy your product, right? And so for these immersive customers, some of them are really shy and they don't necessarily want to talk, but they want to know the information. So you need to put some information out there. I have a website, right? And so with my website, we have QR codes. Those QR codes will direct people and lead them to our website. So when somebody can come in there and they can scan a QR code, they can go there, and on my website I have an About Me section, kind of a history, how we got to where we're at right now, what we're doing. I've got a link to my Facebook page, my business Facebook page, right? So they can go there and they can look at some of my stuff on my Facebook page, maybe watch some of my videos, maybe get some kind of an idea about who I am. And those that want to come in and they want to talk to me, I'm all about, this is my process, this is what I do, this is how I do it, this is where I came from, this is how I got to where I am right now. Because some of those people, they want to come there and they want to hold that conversation with you, and they want to get that conversation and get a feel for you as an individual before they're willing to buy from you. And then once they've gotten that conversation with you and they're comfortable with you, then we can talk about the purchase, right? And so you just it kind of comes with the territory that just eventually you learn what customer is what, which one is what to which, and what customer wants to have that conversation with you and what customer really doesn't. You'll figure it out, and as you figure it out, you'll grow in comfort with your business, right? So that's part of your brand identity. But what we do is we also use banners. So we have 2 banners. We have a retractable banner that sits on the ground that we retract upwards, and we connect it to one of the corner posts on one of the tents, so that people that are walking by the tent can just look at that banner and they can get a little bit of information. Maybe they want to come in and learn some more. And then we have a 4-foot banner a 4-foot wide by 8-foot long banner that hangs in the back of the tent. And that gives a little bit more information. We have some signs that we've made with the CNC machine that tells some of the things that we do, that we put up there around the tent, that, you know, if people come in, they look around, there's a lot of stuff there that can generate a conversation, that can get some stuff started. In every event we add something else. We add some other kind of information deal that will give people the opportunity to learn a little bit about us or engage with us in some way, something that'll start a conversation. So that's the next thing. It's all part of building your brand, right? And everything needs to, excuse me, my elbow is itching like crazy. Everything kind of needs to flow together, right? So it needs to follow the same theme, right? So we've got this kind of off brown tannish color for the background on our banners, right? So you don't want a banner that may have a bright yellow color and then another banner that has like a green background and then black tablecloths. You know, it just clashes. The whole idea clashes with each other, and you don't want that. So what you want is for everything to kind of flow. So we go with neutral earth tones because it sets off the wood. The black gives a good contrast for the wood to set against. That when people come in and they look at the tent, there's a real good contrast in the black tablecloth with the wood. But the gold border, that's called gold, it's not gold, it's more of a kind of off tan color, right? But that off tan color plays against the banners colors, which are all in neutral tones, and plays kind of off the whole wood theme. So you want all that, you want to think about that when you're creating your banners, when you're creating your signage, when you're creating the different things that are going to identify you as a brand, or you as a seller, you as a vendor, however you want to put that on there. And this stuff isn't cheap, right? We've probably got easily $1,000, easily $1,000 into everything. That's easy. I mean, it very well may be more than that. Next is you want to work in layers. Okay, so when I say layers, I mean that you want to draw people's eyes to every level of your tent. So having a couple things on the ground, which so far we haven't brought anything for being on the ground, but it is in process. We are planning on doing some stuff. It's just I simply haven't had time. But I want to do some planters or some end tables, things that'll set a little lower, hope chest, things like that that'll set a little bit lower on the ground, that draws people's eyes downwards. And then as you draw their eyes downwards, you want it to come up. So we have some items that set flat on the table, right? But setting all your items flat on the table doesn't do you any good, because people don't see it as they're walking by. When they're walking by your tent, you need something to draw that attention. You need something that people look at and they're like, man, I want to go see that, right? So you set things up in your tent so that you want to have some things facing outwards, right? So that as they walk by from a distance, from 10, 15 feet away, they can look and they can see something and see what it is, and it draws their attention in. Then you got to have some things flat on the table, but people don't really want to look flat down at the table. They want to look straight at something. So as much as possible, you get things standing up at an angle that allows them to see it from a distance. All right. Next thing is that you want to use risers. Risers, you can use crates, you can use anything that lifts your products up into different levels on your table and gets it around. And then for us, what we're adding this time is a grid wall. And so we're adding a grid wall in the back that will allow us to take some of the CNC stuff that we're doing, some of the signs, and put it up on a grid wall that gets their attention up a little bit higher. We also have things like some birdhouses, bird feeders, that we're going to be hanging up in a higher area of the tent that'll bring people's vision up in there. All right, next thing that you really want to consider when you're doing the whole craft show deal is price points, right? So every market's different, man, and asking the question, what sells good at a market is an utter, complete, total waste of time, because every market is completely different, right? And you could go to the very same market put on by the same people month after month after month, and every month it's going to be different, right? What sold last month may not sell this month, okay? So this can be really difficult, and sometimes it is almost impossible to tell what's going to sell and what's not going to sell. But one thing you can kind of pinpoint with a market is about what your price point is going to look like. Okay, so what price point are people typically purchasing at? Generally speaking, when I do a craft show, when I do a craft market, I sell a couple of high-end items, right? And when I say high-end items, for me, those are my butcher blocks, cutting boards. They can range anywhere from $200 to $400. And generally speaking, I sell at least one or two of those at every craft show. All right. And then what we found out during the Christmas craft show is that items priced under $50 really sold fairly quick. And I don't think at that point I had some cheese slicers at $40. And then I don't think I had anything exactly at $50. I think I had some stuff at $40. I had some stuff at $30. I had some stuff at $25. And I think I had a couple things at $15 or something like that. And all of that stuff sold really well. I did sell a cutting board for $175. At that point, I really didn't think it was going to sell. I was really kind of surprised that it sold, because everything that people were buying was priced under $50. And then I sold, I think, 2 cutting boards during that time. All in all, we did okay. We paid $25 for the booth. The event lasted 5 hours. 5 hours, I think. 4 or 5 hours. We made $600-700. So it was a win, without a doubt. It was an absolute win. The next market we went to was a bust. And don't get me wrong, I still made money at that market. We sold $355 worth of stuff, but we took a whole lot more inventory there. We had, our table was maybe 2-packed, and that could have been a little bit of the problem, because when you have too much stuff, it overwhelms the customer, and they get to where they don't want to look at anything because there's just too much stuff there to go through, and it overwhelms them. So that may have been partly my mistake. It could have very well been partly my mistake, but we only made $355. Now, out of that $355, 175 of that was a cutting board or a butcher block, right? It was a butcher block, ingrained butcher block, $175. We sold that. We sold a cheese board. We sold a couple of other things. I don't remember what all it was now, but we sold a lot of stuff in the $40-50 range. We didn't sell any of the low end stuff, the $20, $25, $15 stuff. We didn't sell any of that. We sold a high end butcher block, $175. We sold a couple of cheese board, a couple flight boards, beer flight boards, and we made $355. I was pretty disappointed in it. We had put a lot of work into that event, and I was a little disappointed in it. The next event that we did was kind of in between those. It wasn't as good as the Christmas event. It wasn't as bad as the event that we did the month before. We made about $455. But out of that $455 that we made, we got leads on a couple sales, and later we ended up making another $600-700 from leads that we got during that event. So it was a win, right? If you count the leads that we got from the event, that turned into $600 sales, then actually that event turned out pretty good. We made about $900, and it's all good. The next event that we're doing is the biggest event that we've done yet. It's also the most expensive event that we've done yet. Typically, I stick with single day events. Not always, but typically I stick with single day events. And so when you're looking at price points, you want to make sure that you can touch a customer at every price point. So you want to have some, smaller, under $10 priced items, right? We have some $8 items. I think we have some $5 items. We've got some $20, $25 items. We got some $10, $15 items. And then we've got, our signs, which range from, $25, well, $15 for the little bitty Harley Davidson signs. We've got So I guess $15 up to $50 or more, because I got one that's $85. So, you know, you want your price points to hit every price point. You need something around $5, $10, $15, 20, 25, you know, 35, 40, 45, 50, you know, hitting them $5 increments up in there and get it all the way up, you know, till you hit about the $100 mark. You know, you hit about $75, and then you jump up about $85, you know, jump up to about 100, 115, 120. You get some stuff in there that's 200, get one or two things in there that's $300, you know, and so that way you're covering every price point out there. Some of the stuff you're going to sell, some of the stuff you're not. You know, you come out there with kind of what I call the shotgun tactics, right, where you kind of just, you know, shoot a wide spread, throw a little bit of everything out there and see what hits. And then the next time you do that event, you're like, well, the last time I did this event, this is the kind of stuff that sold, so I'm going to focus on this stuff this time. And you know, and you change your inventory up based on your markets, right? If I go to a market where I know that people are wanting to buy $15, $20, $25, $30 stuff, then that's what I'm going to concentrate on, is $15, $20, $25, $30 stuff. If I go to a market where I know that I sell 2 or 3 high-end cutting boards for 220, 300, you know, $350, then that's what I'm going to focus on, is cutting boards, you know, butcher blocks, you know, serving trays, stuff like that, right? So with the CNC, we're entering into kind of a new world, right? We're adding in products that we have never brought to craft shows before, and so it's kind of a crapshoot. We're gonna, you know, we've taken that scattershot kind of method there. We've got some signs. Like I said, we have signs at $5, $10, $15. We got a couple clocks, or a clock that we made. We've got a couple big, you know, patriotic type medallions. I don't have as much stuff as I wanted to get done, but, you know, I've managed to cover quite a bit of ground. We have a lot of serving trays, a lot of stuff like that. So there is a lot that goes into the whole craft show thing. You really have to think about it. You really got to plan it out. You've got to try to figure out what it is that's going to sell, what it is that's not, because if you go into a craft show with no plan, with no real idea of what it is that you're trying to do, with no real identity, with no real personality to your booth, then you're not going to bring in the customer, the client base that you're hoping to bring in. You've got to go in with a plan. You've got to go in with an identity. You've got to go in with a story that engages your people. You've got to come in with a little bit of history. You've got to come in with a good quality product, right? And that's another thing, is that a lot of people don't want to go in there. They're not going to spend high dollar on cheap shit, right? They're just not going to do it. So if you go in there and you've used fence pickets to build, you know, whatever it is they're building out of fence pickets these days, you know, if you go in there and you use cheap fence pickets to build a cheap product and then try to sell it for a high dollar price, you're probably going to walk away disappointed, right? It just is what it is. Especially when you have other crafters that are going to be there that are competition to you, that have a higher priced, higher quality item, that, you know, when they come in, a lot of times the customer will come in, they'll look at your booth, they may find something that they're interested in, but they're not ready to commit yet because they want to see what other options are out there. And so they go, you know, 3 or 4 booths down in there. Joey Woodworker's down there, and he's put out a really top-notch, high-quality, really nice product that looks good. It's got some good solid weight to it, man. You can tell it's quality when you pick it up. Well, that customer that came there and was looking at your, you know, your cheap fence picket stuff is not coming back, right? He's going to stop at that place, and that's where he's going to spend his money, right? A lot of times people don't want to spend money on cheap shit, and people know cheap shit when they see cheap shit. And I'm not trying to be insulting, right? I'm really not. There's a ton of people out there that make cheap stuff out of cheap wood, and they sell it, right? They do. Doesn't mean you're going to. My experience, where I'm at, that shit don't fly, right? That shit don't fly down here. Maybe it flies for you. It doesn't fly for me. I've tried, right? I've tried. It was a waste of my time. So anyway, we're coming up on 30 minutes for the video. I wanted to touch base, share some of the things. We are going to be doing some more stuff This is Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to be cleaning everything. We're going to be hitting the air compressor on everything, knocking all the dust off of it. Be taking it inside, wiping everything down, getting everything ready to go. We're going to price the stuff we don't have priced. Thursday night, tomorrow night, we're going to pack up the tents, the tables, the chairs, the ice chest, and we're going to take that stuff to work. And on Friday, and then Friday we're going to go down to the Wise County Fairgrounds in Decatur, Texas, and we're going to set up from 1 to 4, get our tent set up, get our table set up, get our chairs set up, probably drop off the ice chest, and come back to the house. They're going to have a cop there overnight that's going to watch everything, make sure it all stays safe. Saturday morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, we're going to be back up at the Wise County Fairgrounds, setting up all of our products, setting up tablecloths, getting everything laid out. Excuse me, getting everything laid out, getting it ready for the customers. 11 o'clock it opens to the public. At 9 o'clock at night, everything shuts down. 7 o'clock at night, the vendors start tearing down and putting their stuff up, and we'll let you guys know how we do. Right? Y'all take care. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. If you made it this far through the video, drop a comment. Tell me, hey man, I watched the whole thing, and this is what I think. Right? You don't agree with me? Cool. Don't agree with me. Leave a comment. Tell me why you don't agree with me. Right? If you do agree with me, leave a comment. Let me know what it is that you agree with. If you have questions, there's things that you want to know because this is what you're trying to get into, by all means, let me know what it is you want to know. We'll do a video on it. Y'all take care. Peace out. We'll catch you later on.